Welcome to the Valley Hoops Insider website. Today, Amy Eagan. She's the head women's basketball coach at Lindenwood University. The Lions' second year. She's the head coach here the second year. And last year had to be kind of challenging. I mean, like, you win, you're just a winner. And to have a year where wins came difficult, how challenging was that for you? I'm a guy that I'm used to losing to my wife at gin. So when she beats me at cards, I'm not surprised. Yeah. You're used to it.
Yeah. I think, I knew, number one, what I was getting myself into, right? And, you talk about, coming into a transition from D2 to D1, and I knew it was that. And then you come into rebuilding a whole nother team. I knew it was going to be a challenging year. And, the thing that, one of the reasons I took the job, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is I was ready for that challenge. I was ready for a challenge. And so I think, through some of those challenges, I've always believed that that's where you grow. That's where, you grow, whether it's X's and O's or the person you are or how you handle, adversity, those kind of things. And I think we definitely, myself, my staff, our players, I think we did so much growing last year with it. And I think in a way that's exciting, it was a hard year. And I got this question so many times afterwards. We lost 8 games by 7 or less points. We were right there in some of those games, and that could have completely changed a lot of that, but we weren't able to get over that hump with the youth that we had. But a lot of people afterwards asked me, like, are you glad that you made that decision? And I am. I loved it. I love our kids. I love Lindenwood. I love the people I work with every day, the administration, their commitment to what we're doing. It's just some really great things happening. And even though it was a hard year in regards to wins and losses, I think it was a winning year in regards to everything else.
You talked about the youth of your team.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say this right, but something like 6 or 7 of your top scorers are back.
Yeah.
Meaning because they were young and they're back. That also has to be encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we graduated Michaela Wallace. She's the only kid that started and played significant minutes that we lost. So we didn't lose the kids that were in the portal that we wanted to keep and that were contributors to us last year. So they're all returning. So we're returning a good core. Ellie Brueggemann, number 1, is returning. Who had a good freshman year, was sick a lot of the year, so struggled towards the middle and end because of that, but is now back to herself and looks phenomenal. We got Justice Odom back, who was our 5 player that, I think she started out slow, and then by the end of the year was one of the better post players in the league, and has taken another step for us. And then you talk about the other youth and our freshmen like Michaela Cunningham, who is our backup PG, and towards the end of the year, you're starting to see some really good things out of her. Those kids now are just completely different than they were last year, whether that's just experience or being comfortable with us. It has made a heck of a difference. So I'm
sure confession we have a dog, right?
But it's really exciting. I think, sometimes in practice, even right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the difference between last year at this time and this year at this time, and just where we're at with our program.
You're not an overly big team, but you have good kind of across the board size. And yet rebounding was a problem last year. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a big problem. When we lost Gracie Kelsey, who was one of our 6'2" kids to an ACL after our Southern Indiana game, she was one of our best rebounders. And losing her to the ACL really hurt us. I think just figuring out some of the system really hurt us a little bit. I think we picked up some kids in the portal that make us bigger as well. Mariah Stewart, who's a 6'3" kid that was down in Louisiana. We got Justice. Gracie Kelsey will be back in the middle of the year type stuff. We're hoping November with it. You look at us now, and then you look at some of the size we put on our kids. A year going from freshman to sophomore, and you talk about the weight room and the protein that we're forcing down. It makes a difference, right?
Sure.
And so I think some of that and being more comfortable and having some of that confidence because we're there with our bodies also helps a lot. So we really tried, when you talk about like trying to fill some holes, that was one thing we were like, God, our rebounding is really bad. And we brought in 5 new kids, and I think of those 5 kids, we filled a little bit more of that too. And I do think getting Gracie back will help.
3-point shooting wasn't your strength either. Is that new players, a meeting like that's how we're going to address that? That's probably part of it. Is there something else you can do? Obviously, shooting is kind of confidence and all those other things.
Oh, Ellie had a great year. Would have had a better year, I think, in regards to I think some of that, we took the system that we used at Drury and just brought it and just said, let's find out where we're at, And I think with how we ran our offense last year wasn't beneficial to this level, to this league, and those kind of things. So we're changing some of that and doing some things differently with it. But I think we'll put her in a better position. We also recruited Gracie Wormley, who's just a phenomenal shooter. She was down at Abilene Christian. So she helps spread the floor a little bit. Brooke Coffey, who's an area kid from Lindenwood down in Illinois State, can really shoot it. So we really added, I think, some pieces around that will help stretch the floor a little bit more. But I think we also have to do a better job putting them in positions for that.
So structure as well as new players.
Absolutely.
How would you describe the difference in your offensive system? I mean, I'm not smart enough to really know if you tell me something important, but like in general.
Last year we ran a lot of dribble drive, and I've always thought, I know it's not designed to be a lot of one-on-one, and so people would fight with me that run it.
Sure.
But I think it tends to lend to a lot of one-on-one, and you can correct some of that with what you do and so forth with it. But I think we just needed to add some screening action type stuff, and so I think when you talk about running Ellie off some screens or Gracie off some screens and the spacing with it, I think that will open up a few more things for them.
I love talking to coaches because I'm intrigued by all the different things they have to think through and like you say, system adjustments. I talked to a coach yesterday or earlier this week that said, I've been meeting with other coaches and picking their brains about what they're doing because I like what they're doing. Is that a way you go about it as well? Are there people out there, mentors or just peers that you can lean on and pick their brains?
100%. I think, I've been coaching now 20 years, and if you stop trying to learn, you're not staying up with what's to date. So I really always try to dive into if I see something interesting, or I see something for other teams or programs, and not even just college. I've watched a ton of WNBA this year.
Everybody has.
You watch, it's exciting, and you watch, NBA, that kind of stuff. You can pick up on some things. Maybe not everything that can help piece some things together that maybe fits your personnel and so forth. But I think that's just a big part of being a coach. Like, you have to be willing to make changes if you need changes. You try to recruit a certain personnel, but you don't always get that personnel, right, that you're recruiting. You've got to be able to fit a system around that as well.
What do you like, or what is challenging both about putting together a schedule and what do you like about your schedule?
Yeah, I like our schedule a lot better this year. Last year we inherited the schedule with it, and it was pretty much done, and it was probably, we just weren't ready. I'm not sure we would have been ready for any schedule, honestly. But we were playing quite a few, Big 10 and Big 12 teams and those kind of things, and we weren't ready for that level. But, this year I think we've got a lot more games that I think fit where we're at with our program and taking that next step. A lot more games that are going to challenge us, but also games that we'll be able to compete in better, if that makes sense with it. So I really like that. I think our non-conference schedule tends a little bit more towards that than it did last year with it. And so I think it's going to help hopefully give us a little bit more confidence heading into conference, give us a little bit more where we can correct some things if it's not good. When you play teams that are way above you, it's sometimes hard to see exactly where you're at, right? And what you really do need to correct, because you probably need to correct everything. And so I feel like we're going to have a lot more of those abilities to learn and grow in the off season.
I just love your office, by the way. To be able to look out over the gym, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
You have a new assistant coach on your staff. Talk about it.
So Aaron Beadle came, Alexis Hyder left and went to Utah State and took the next step in her career there. Aaron was a D3 assistant, down in Texas, and he's he started as a practice player at SFA under Mark Kellogg, who is over at West Virginia right now, and so he had some good experience there and had some good connections there, and he's really just done it from the bottom up, and he's been a great addition to us. He still has a ton to learn. He's not doing a lot of coaching right now because he's doing a lot of learning, and we've really just thrown him into the fire and said, hey, let's go. You learn it as you go, and we'll guide you, and we want you to be active in who we are and what we're doing. I think the first year is always hard. It is, because you're like, if I say this, is it right? Is it wrong? So we're putting him in positions, I think, to help him grow, but also that he can contribute to us. He's a phenomenal recruiter. He could converse, sit here and talk to anyone for hours and hours, and I think that's also really big when we talk about trying to build a program and get to that next step.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about recruiting. You mentioned a couple of the young ladies on your team, and some of them have some real experience at really solid programs. That mix of bringing in freshmen, bringing in portal players, talk about, is there not a math equation, but I mean, how do you mesh all that? Because you want class distribution and all that.
I mean, you throw all that out the window these days. You're always trying to, it used to be, let's balance this class, so our next class is not as big. I don't even think you can do that anymore with it, and, we'd love to do that if we could, but I always think it's good if you can get a couple freshmen. I know some people, everybody just has different philosophies, and I don't think there's any wrong or right way. It's more what you're comfortable with as a coach. I like to always have a freshman or two in every class. I think that's important just with how I like to do culture and keeping these consistent. And I also really, really enjoy teaching, coaching, developing, and seeing them grow. And when you get 1-year players or 2-year players, you don't get to see as much of that. Again, nothing wrong with that, because you need those, and we need those kids, and I love those kids. But it's something about having freshmen as well in my program. So we'll always try to have 1 or 2 freshmen probably, and then I think the portal's big. I think we did really well the portal this year, and I think it's something that if you can find the right kids and get the right kids, I think you'll be a great asset to your program.
You say that, and Louisiana, Lafayette, Abilene, what are you selling in St. Charles, Missouri that they ended up all the way here?
Yeah. I had relationship with our kid Wormley from Abilene Christian. I had a relationship with her mom from AU, Ellie Brugerman, and Alyssa Nielsen, who were on our team, played with her in AU. I watched her a ton. I knew exactly how that kid would fit into our program. And, it's about finding kind of the niche of what you're going to sell and who you are. And, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for us within our program right now as we're building it. I think we have a family here, and I know a lot of people say that, and every family is different. But I think the way we use our program to teach life skills, to help them grow, but also we want to win. I mean, we want to be champions, right? We want to win, and the approach that we have to that, I think, is a good sell for people. I'll tell you what, St. Charles is beautiful, and if almost anyone that we get on campus to Lindenwood, and then we show them St. Charles, we could sell a lot of that.
Now, you have a beautiful campus. I mean, the facilities are terrific. Jason Coover, I'm a big fan of your athletic director.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the direction, if you look at all the things that, we have taken in just a year, we opened our practice facility, and I think that's huge, and now our kids, they have access from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like, they can get in there and get their shots up. We didn't have that last year, we have so many sports that it was hard for them to do those things. We're redoing our locker room this summer. We're getting some new Netco 4-sided scoreboard in here. We're really taking some really good steps, and not just, I think, in our program or men's basketball, but I think in the other sports on campus as well. And football got new turf, baseball got new turf, softball got new turf. I think, when you look at a school that is moving in a forward direction, where a lot of schools right now are struggling with enrollment and struggling with budgets and those kind of things, I think we're the opposite, and I think that's really, really exciting.
It is exciting. What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, so the buzz around college athletics obviously is related to NIL and those kinds of things, and the people that come to my website are way more versed on the men's side. Talk about the NIL opportunities for women's athletics in general, but women's basketball in specific, and then more specific for Lions.
Yeah. For us in the OVC, and at least our program and what I know of the OVC, and I can't speak for every coach, I don't think it's hit that level yet. Do I think it's 100% coming? Yes, 100%. Everything trickles down depending on what speed, and it's always when one school does it, then everybody else is doing it. So it hasn't been that big of a talk or a thing that we've had to deal with in the recruiting world yet. Do I think we're getting there? Yes, absolutely with it. I think the men are a lot further ahead in regards to a lot of that. But I do think we're trying to find avenues and different things that we can help with that. I have some good mentors at the higher level of D1 that I've been talking to, and I think there's some things at our level that we can do to help, maybe not on quite that level, but on a lower level that we will be able to do. We just launched today our NIL store. That's huge. You look at the NIL, the teams that are in that NIL store. They're a lot of them big time teams. We're, I think, the only OVC school in that. So I think we're doing a lot of things for our kids and getting steps in that direction and heading in that direction. I think it's a balance of doing that, but also building everything else around us and the program and finding time is really the biggest thing with it, But I do think it's getting to that point where we're going to have to start exploring that more and diving into that more.
NIL store, tell me where people can go to see that.
It's launched on our website, so Lindenwood Lions, but it's also, I think, on all our social media. Every team, so every kid here an option of signing up for it. I think I have probably half of my kids that sign up for it, and they get a certain percentage of the gear that they sell on there and so forth. So, and it's really cool gear. I mean, I'm trying to decide how am I going to afford to buy, all this gear for my kids. But I think it's something that, again, if they want to contribute to that, it can help our kids out, but also they can rep their favorite, player stuff.
I love that. I think that's like the low-hanging fruit, right? Yeah. If we can get Lindenwood Lions gear out there and one of the players makes $1, that's awesome.
I agree. That all adds up.
Yeah. Before I let you go, when I talk to my friends in Springfield, they're still mad that you're here. Yeah. They're still missing you.
I miss the people down there a lot too.
You had such a run of success there. And that's probably something else you can sell to recruits or even to fans, that we won, X games last year, but we are building something that's going to have a championship motif, DNA. We will win championships, and I've done it everywhere else. That's got to help.
Oh, it does. It does help. And I think, we have to twist it a little bit here because, you talk about, obviously we'd love to win a national championship. Is that realistic? I don't know if that's realistic.
But for sure, OVC championship.
We're going to get OVC championship every year. We're going to give ourselves an opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament and an opportunity to make some noise in the NCAA tournament and see how far we can go. You never really know, what can happen in those things. And, that's something even when we're in the recruiting world, we're recruiting, obviously, we feel like we're recruiting to win the OVC, but we're not just recruiting to win the OVC. We're trying to see what's after that, and what that looks like, and paying attention to whether it's the South Dakota, teams and what their personnel look like to get to that next level. And so there's a lot of things that go into it when you're preparing and doing those things. But yeah, we definitely talk about that. I mean, we've been through it. Taking over for Molly Miller was probably not the easiest thing, right? But we found a way to do it. We found a way to continue to do it. And whether you're talking about building a program or you're talking about sustaining a program at that level, they're both really freaking hard. It's really hard to do. So it's a different type of talk and a different type of how we get there type talk, but we're working to do the exact same things.
In about 2 weeks, I'm going to be playing in the golf tournament. And last year, you missed a putt for me. Now, it was about a 30-footer.
Okay, you can hold it closer, I'll make it. But I'm not playing it this year.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Yeah. See, they fired me from that spot. I don't know why. If you spend too much time on the golf course, are you really producing a championship team? No, I love to golf and I love to be out there as much as I can. It's, I think you always need to find a release and something you enjoy outside, and golf is one of those things for me. I'm not extremely good at it because I don't have the time that I need to. But I love just being out there, because I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do, and the reason I even brought it up was to give you a hard time. But also, the tournament is just fun, and you talked about a university that's looking forward. And every time I'm around here, I'm just impressed with the trajectory of the Lindenwood University and the athletic program. That's going to be encouraging for you.
Yeah. Our president is phenomenal. One of the reasons I took the job was definitely after sitting down, talking to him and his vision. And, there's doers and then there's people that talk about it, and he's definitely a doer. And he's shown that to me in the last year. Along with him, Jason Coomer, who you mentioned, one of the best ADs in the nation, just works so hard for all of athletics and fights for athletics and just knows what it takes, And I think when you talk about getting St. Charles involved, I think that's the next step. We really need St. Charles involved. We really need the people of St. Charles, the people of St. Louis involved in our program, involved in all of athletics. And I think football had the biggest crowd they've had, 4,600 people at their game. And so we're headed in that direction. We just need them to continue to stay with us, as we're going to have some ups and downs, whether it's us, whether it's football, whether it's men's basketball, whoever. We're going to have some ups and downs, but to see what is happening here and to jump on board. Don't wait till we're good, right? Let's do it now. Let's build those relationships. Let's take this to the next level because we do need their help in doing that.
Appreciate your time. I hope you have an amazing season.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, thank you.